Have you noticed what happened to your favorite bag of chips? You pick it up and it feels somehow light. You open it and inside, it's half air. And no, this isn't some advanced product preservation technology or a nitrogen cushion to keep the cookies from crumbling. This is the art of professional robbery. They call it shrinkflation, but let's call it what it really is: corporate pickpocketing, executed with a smile. They're just clipping pieces off you. It used to be 100 grams, now it's 85. There were 12 items in the box, now there are 10. The price stays the same. Or, oh, look at that. It even creeps up a little. And they are banking on you being too stupid to notice the difference. They're counting on your laziness, on the fact that you won't check the price per kilogram. You'll just toss the usual product into your cart. You're buying a habit, and they're selling you less air for the same price as before. It's a brilliant scheme. If they raised the price by 20%, you'd notice, you'd be outraged. You'd start looking for an alternative. But if they quietly shave off 20% of the product's weight, you won't even flinch. It's math for psychopaths. They've calculated that it's easier to cheat millions of people out of a few grams than it is to sell them anything honestly. And the funniest part? They try to frame it as if they're looking out for you. We reduced the portion size for your health. We switched to more eco-friendly packaging. To hell with your ecology. You just want me to pay the same amount as before for a pile of plastic that holds 3 dry crackers. Every package in the supermarket right now is a lie. You compare brands. You think you're choosing. You think you're a free consumer in a free market. No, you're not. You're in a maze where every turn leads to a smaller portion for a higher price. You're paying for the packaging, you're paying for the marketing, you're paying for the designers drawing those bright labels just so you don't see that it's empty inside. We've turned into statistical units that can be milked indefinitely. They know you'll come back anyway. You're hungry, you need to eat something, and you'll grab that bag again, even though you know it's half empty. It's a tax on existence that they collect under the guise of business. And you know what's next? Soon you'll be buying an empty box that says, "Imagine there was breakfast in here." And you'll buy it because it'll be beautifully packaged and cost the same as yesterday's groceries. We've allowed them to turn food into a card game where they always hold the better hand. And we're just hoping that after lunch, we won't have to go back to the store because the first bag turned out to be nothing but an illusion of fullness. This isn't a market, it's a concealed ripoff. And we voluntarily participate in this show every time we walk through the doors of a store. And now, let's look at your rent statements. Have you ever wondered why housing has become so obscenely expensive? And no, the answer isn't that everyone suddenly decided they want to live in the city center. It's a direct consequence of the fact that the roof over your head has stopped being a place to live and has become an asset for corporate vultures. This is what I call rental slavery. You used to rent an apartment from a private person who just maybe had a conscience. Now, you're renting from a massive corporation run by algorithms on Wall Street. To these companies, you aren't a person, you aren't a family, you aren't a student, you're just a cash flow stream. They buy an entire neighborhood, kick the real residents out on the street, do a 3-cent paint job, slap a luxury apartment label on it, and double the rent. And where's the trap? The trap is that you have no choice. You can't just say, "You know what, I'll build myself a hut in the woods." You need a place to live so you can go to work and earn the money that you immediately hand over for that very same rent. It's the perfect loop for capital extraction. You work for your job just to pay the corporation that owns your housing so you can live close enough to keep working. You aren't even living, you're just maintaining your own rent. It's a massive scam where the very concept of ownership is being methodically erased. They want you to own nothing and be happy. though in reality, they just want you to own nothing and be permanently in debt. Every year, your lease is up for renewal, and every year, the price goes up. Why? Because they can. Because the market is overheated. That's just a fancy word for saying, we're going to squeeze every last cent out of you because you have nowhere else to go. Look at these new high-rises. They're standing half empty. This isn't housing for people. These are safes for money. Investors buy these concrete boxes to park their capital while you fight over a tiny closet where you can barely fit a bed. It's absurd. We have so much vacant real estate, yet we live in a housing affordability crisis. Why? Because housing is no longer a social good. It's a tool for speculation. We've become a generation of permanent renters. You can work your entire life paying a monthly sum that's higher than any mortgage, but in the end, you get nothing. No asset, no stability. You're just enriching people who have never seen your face and who couldn't care less that you have a roof over your head provided you pay your bill tomorrow. This is a system that makes you feel like a guest in your own life. You can't hang a picture, you can't change the locks, you can't feel secure because the landlord can decide to sell the building or hike the price whenever they feel like it. You're a hostage in your own four walls. And the scariest part is that we accept this as normal. We say, well, that's just the market. No, it isn't. It's feudalism with a web interface, where corporations own your freedom of movement and your right to rest. And now, let's talk about what they call freedom of movement. Your car. Remember how it used to be? The car was the ultimate symbol of independence. You'd jump in, turn the key, and go wherever you wanted, whenever you wanted. Today, your car is just another gadget in your digital shackles. Notice what's happened. The car is no longer your property. It's a subscription service for transportation. You buy a pile of steel, but you don't own the software inside. The car was the ultimate symbol of independence. You jump in, turn the key, and go wherever you wanted, whenever you wanted. Today, your car is just another gadget in your digital shackles. Notice what's happened. The car is no longer your property. It's a subscription service for transportation. You buy a pile of steel, but you don't own the software inside, and now they're demanding rent just to use the full functionality of what you supposedly bought. And fuel prices? That's a whole different theater of the absurd. You constantly hear those excuses about global markets, supply chain disruptions, and geopolitical risks. Have you ever noticed that when oil prices drop, the prices at the pump stay exactly the same? But when oil goes up, gas prices hit the stratosphere overnight. Ever seen gas prices fall as fast as they rise? Me neither. It's a system where you never win. You work to buy the car, work to pay for the insurance, work to buy the gas, which is manipulated by corporations, and work to pay for service you can't even perform yourself because your modern car is just a computer on wheels that requires a manufacturer's special password. You can't even change a headlight bulb without visiting an official dealer who's going to strip you down to your last dime. We've become dependent on a system that's designed to make sure you cannot function without a car. You can't walk to work. You can't rely on public transport. Perfect. The corporations love that. You're trapped. They forced us into environments where you're practically disabled without private transport. And then they jacked up the prices so that every time you leave your driveway, it's a direct financial hit to your budget. This isn't about comfort. It's about control. They want you tethered to these expenses. Every trip is just an interest payment into their pockets. You think you're driving somewhere to take care of business? No. You're driving to work off the cost of having the possibility to drive. It's an endless hamster wheel, only this one has an internal combustion engine. And the worst part is, we keep playing this game because we weren't given any other choice. We bought our own dependence, signed a lease on the misery, and we think we're free people. Yeah, right. You're just passengers paying for the gas in someone else's limousine. And now, let's get into something that really goes beyond the pale. We've hit a point where survival, the simple act of eating, has turned into a luxury tax on your health. Have you noticed that the cheapest products on the shelves are the ones guaranteed to make you a regular at the pharmacy within 10 years? Look at the aisles. Real food, stuff that hasn't been processed in a factory vat, costs as if it were hand-picked by Himalayan virgins. But all that garbage, loaded with sugar, preservatives, and synthetic flavor enhancers, it's accessible, it's advertised on every corner, it's screaming at you, "Buy me, I'm cheap." This isn't a coincidence. It's a systemic assassination of the middle class through their own stomachs. They are literally forcing you to choose between having money at the end of the month and your own health. You know you should be eating vegetables. You know you should be buying quality meat. But when you see the price tag, your brain goes, "Buddy, you can't afford that. Grab this pack of mystery meat nuggets instead. It'll save you enough for the rent." And so you do. You buy sickness wrapped in shiny packaging. And then, once that edible plastic does its job, you head to the pharmacy. And you know what's waiting there? Another trap. Drug prices are rising faster than gas prices. They feed you the stuff that makes you sick, and then they sell you the pills just so you can function enough to keep working. It's the perfect business model, a closed loop where you spend money to get problems and then hand over your last pennies to solve them. It's cynicism of the highest order. They've turned healthy living into a privilege. They look at you and say, "Want to live without chronic illness? Pay the premium." Those who have money eat real food, while the rest of us are forced to settle for nutritional surrogates that shouldn't even be called food. This isn't just about prices. It's social segregation. If you don't have enough money, you're condemned to consume chemical waste that drains your body dry. And the worst part is the guilt they heap on you. You don't watch your diet, you don't exercise enough. To hell with that. How am I supposed to watch my diet when I'm on a shoestring survival budget and a bag of fresh salad costs more than a mountain of frozen junk? We live in a world where access to the most basic resource, clean, healthy energy for your body, has become an elitist club. We aren't just buying food. We're paying for our own slow degradation, and they even try to convince us it's our own personal choice. It's not a choice. It's a trap. And now, for the final blow, the thing they are actually selling you every single day, even when you think you're just buying bread or gas. It's a commodity called chronic anxiety. You think you're buying groceries, paying rent, and filling up your tank? No. You are paying for the constant, nagging feeling that you are barely hanging on. The system is engineered to keep you on the brink of a nervous breakdown. Why? Because a human being in a state of calm is a terrible consumer. If you're at peace, you don't feel the need to rush out and buy some useless piece of garbage to soothe your conscience or get a quick hit of cheap dopamine. The system requires your stress. Your anxiety is the fuel that keeps this entire corporate machine running. Notice how prices are always shifting, how rental terms are getting tougher, how credit is becoming easier to get while you're becoming poorer. This isn't chaos. This is a precision-tuned mechanism. They want you checking your banking app every 5 minutes, counting pennies at the checkout, and flinching every time you get a utility bill. They built an environment where basic survival takes up so much of your mental bandwidth that you don't have any energy left to stop and ask, wait a minute, why did I agree to this in the first place? This stress is their primary product. You buy it every single day. You buy it when you go to a job you despise, just to pay for a life you don't enjoy. You buy it when you take out yet another loan to purchase something that might make you happy for the weekend. You are trapped in a state of perpetual deficit, deficit of time, deficit of money, and in that state, you are the perfect subject for manipulation. You will work more, you will tolerate more, and you will stay silent because the fear of losing what little you have outweighs the desire to demand more from life. This is pure financial violence. They are draining you not just of your money, but of your capacity for critical thought. How can you plan for the future when you're terrified that tomorrow's price tag will make your dinner impossible? This anxiety has become a line item on your receipt. You pay for it every time you hand over your paycheck. And the worst part is, they've convinced us that this is normal, that this is just what it means to be an adult. No, this isn't adulthood. This is living under siege. This is living in a system where your mental health is just a byproduct of someone else's profit margins. And as long as you live in this constant state of fear, they're busy counting their interest. We've become so scared and so exhausted that we're incapable of standing together and saying enough. We just keep pushing this hamster wheel, hoping that today's stress won't finally crush us. And it's on that hope, that weak, exhausted flicker of hope, that they build their empires. This isn't a life, it's a survival game, where you seem to have forgotten that you have the right to leave the table.